Benjamin Sesko, Nicholas Jackson's been mentioned, Ollie Watkins. Apologies to bring him into it, but do you think that Manchester United will push for a striker? I saw someone suggesting just play Cunha on as the 9. What are your thoughts? I mean, they've got a couple there, haven't they, as well already? Young players who can play there.
Yeah, I mean, don't buy Cunha for £62.5 million and then just shove him up front when he's barely played there in the last year and has clearly excelled as a kind of floating 10, which United literally used 2 of. So I'm pleased to see that they're up for a 9. I wondered if they'd leave it and think with the support of Mbeumo and Cunha and Bruno Fernandes and Amad Diallo fit again, with all those 4 scoring goals, would the burden on the striker become a little less and would they thrive as a result? It looks like they're not willing to take that risk, and it looks like they are at least going to try. I'll ask the question on a few of these players. So Sesko, expensive, young, from abroad. Ultimately, I have no issue with that in a vacuum, but the last couple that United have tried really haven't worked out, and I think they should probably look at something a little bit safer. So your low-risk, low-cost option here is probably Ollie Watkins, isn't he? But of course, he's significantly older. He's 7 years older than Sesko and 5 years older than Nicholas Jackson. So it's no long-term solution. That can be okay if you're just trying to, get a shot in the arm, which is seemingly what they're doing here with Mbeumo and Cunha. But Nicholas Jackson, I mean, Darmish, you may correct me, the price I've seen reported in terms of Chelsea's asking price, somewhere between 80 and 100 million.
Yeah, we're always talking about how the market is set. So Chelsea are looking at Ekitike. Well, if he's £69 million basic plus £10 million in add-ons, well, so is Nicholas Jackson. And you know what? Chelsea will have every right to say that because Nicholas Jackson has got Premier League experience. He's scored goals in the Premier League. Ekitike hasn't. So why shouldn't Chelsea value the player in that way? What I would say, the priority for Manchester United right now, once they got the Mbeumo deal done, is sales. They need to get sales to be able to fund further investment in this transfer window.
Any sales close? Finally, Doms?
Well, I mean, Rashford one is that's one down of the 5. The other 4 we're talking about: Alejandro Garnacho, Jadon Sancho, Tyrell Malacia, and Anthony. There's interest in all of them. Juventus still pursuing a deal for Jadon Sancho, but rather like Manchester United's pursuit of a striker, Juventus are in that position where now that they've effectively signed Francisco Conceição, to bring in someone like Sancho, they would have to make sales. They're working on sales of Timothy Weah to Marseille, and Nico Gonzalez as well is of interest to Atletico Madrid, I think. So they're trying to make these sales to be able to get this Sancho deal done. I don't think with regard to Sancho, the biggest issue is going to be the transfer fee, because I think they'll be able to negotiate that with United. Simply because if you look at the Rashford option price, United have come down to £26 million. I think they were asking £25 million of Chelsea when they had an obligation to buy. It probably won't go as high as that if Juventus are coming in for someone like Sancho, because it feels like United have made the decision behind the scenes. If we take the hit on certain players, we're just going to have to do it, because there's no way for us to move forward unless we have got these players out and I've got the players that I want in the club. So Sancho and Juventus, that one is live. We do know Real Betis still want Anthony. There is other interest in him from a number of other clubs, but he wants to go to Betis. Of course, after last season's performance, Betis are desperate to sign him. Again, the finances could prove to be an issue. Is it going to be another loan? Would United insist that that loan comes with an obligation? So that's another issue there. Garnacho, we think, wants to stay in the Premier League. Chelsea are definitely interested in Garnacho, and I think Malacia will get a move somewhere. I mean, it didn't work out for him as he would have liked at PSV last season, but there should be a couple of suitors for Tyrell Malacia as well. So I'm not saying there's a confidence that United won't have these 5 players come the end of this transfer window, but I think there's a hope that they'll be able to do some sort of deals for all 5 before the window closes.
Brian and Bumo, and that's all been done. £71 million. Some suggestion again, as football fans like to talk, that they've maybe overpaid a bit there, but I mean, Sam's nodding his head. Sam, you clearly are one of those people. What are you thinking?
I think this is a bit of an overpay. Yeah.
How much?
£15 million,
Okay.
something like that. He's got a year left on his deal, and they spent
Plus a year.
What, an option?
Yeah.
Was it a club option or a player option?
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question, and it applies to Wissa as well. Like, I don't know the exact dynamic of those, but yeah, it just doesn't look quite right. I mean, it's on the very top end of the bracket that we keep mentioning with all these Premier League forwards and wingers moving around. United have ended up towards the top end of that bracket on Cunha and Mbermo for players who are in their mid-20s, and you've got really young 20s, like 21, 22-year-olds and 20-year-olds moving for like 50. So that's why I kind of put him at about a £15 million overpay, that the potential contract situation and just the age compared to like Madueke and Gittins and all those guys. There's no doubt that Mbermo's a really good player, but he and Cunha were two of the three biggest XG overperformers last season. They overperformed in front of goal at a rate that Messi and Ronaldo would struggle to over the course of a campaign, or over a course of a career. So something might give in that area. And you've got to be wary of non-penalty goals against goals scored as well. Mbermo scored 5 penalties. I don't think he's going to be allowed to have penalties if Bruno Fernandes is on the pitch. So when people keep pointing to him and going, well, he scored 20 goals, I'm like, sure. But at United, that would have been 15. So already you're 25% down in your tally. So that's why I think it's ended up probably a little bit too inflated. Just my honest thoughts.
One thing I would say is that there was talk that the goalposts were being moved constantly with Brian Mbumo. But one thing that United were impressed by was the fact that he only wanted to go to Man United. We do know that Tottenham and Newcastle were interested. They could offer Champions League football. Yes, we can talk about potential wages that were on offer, but I think United were really encouraged by the fact that Mbumo's desire from the moment that United came in was only to join Man United. And now, when I mentioned goalposts being moved, I mean, there's been, denials on all sides, I think, with regard to how this fee, how they came to this fee. But there was at one point, I heard one source telling me that, Brentford might have wanted to go as high as £77 million, and they might have wanted to get 70 million guaranteed. What United will have done here, if you look at the Cunha deal, it was £62.5 million paid in 3 instalments. So you're looking at around £20 million per instalment. Now, what United have done, which we can't often talk about, is sometimes clubs will find it more beneficial to actually pay a bit more money in return for more favourable payment terms, simply because of how the profit and sustainability rules are set. Now, this £65 million that is guaranteed to Brentford is actually going to be paid over 4 instalments. So if you imagine that there were equal instalments, you're looking at £16 million per instalment that Manchester United would have to pay Brentford. That compared to, for example, would they rather do that or pay £5 million less over 3 instalments? You got to weigh it up. That's how clubs are thinking now with these PSR and these financial fair play rules. So Manchester United will feel that they've got a good deal. Brentford will feel that they've got a good deal. Whatever happens, Manchester United desperately wanted to bring in Brian Mbumo. They've got him.
Yeah. Deal done.